Okay guys, for this video we're going to be talking about the myths and some of the positions that we will use to shoot from inside and around a vehicle. The first scenario we're going to cover is, for whatever reason, we're in this direction of travel, we're going that way, and something happens to the front. We're not going to get into the who or the what or the why, just whatever happens, happens, and I got to get out of this vehicle. But in the process of getting out of the vehicle, I also want to re-engage. I want to send rounds downrange to kill or to suppress the enemy. We're riding in the car, naturally the door will be closed. We're going this way. For whatever reason, something happens. I want to reach over, I'll grab my gun, avoiding flagging myself, I bring the gun up and over my shoulder. Now from here, I can engage. Depending on the environment and your SOPs is whether or not you want accurate fire or whether or not suppressive fire is okay. So I can engage from here. The next thing that I can do is I can come over my shoulder again, and I want to lead out. I want to be able to shoot from the A-pillar and the door, the little crack that opens up there, and I want to lead with my muzzle first, lead with my muzzle and eyes, and then engage. So starting from here, I come over, I reach for my gun, I come up and over my shoulder, and I actually lean out, and then I can engage from here. From here, what we would do is we would want to get out of the vehicle and start breaking contact, because vehicles are a bullet magnet and we want to get away from them. So let's go ahead and go to the front of the vehicle and discuss what we would do from there. Okay guys, so now we're at the front of the vehicle. Now depending on what size of vehicle and what kind of vehicle you have is going to determine what kind of position, how far forward, and how you're going to exit the vehicle. Naturally, if you're in a soft skin, low sedan, something like this, then you're going to want to get out of the vehicle and stay low. If you're in an up-armored Suburban, the Suburban's a little bit taller, you're not going to have to crouch down so far. But what I wanted to do is I want to avoid getting right up on the hood. By getting right up on the hood, more of my body is exposed. Not only is more of my body exposed, but vehicles are bullet magnets. So therefore, when rounds impact the vehicle, they change trajectory. They lose velocity and they change trajectory. So if I'm right up on cover, right up on this vehicle hood, and rounds are impacting it, rounds can skip off of hoods, and I don't want to be right up on it. I want to be within that safe deflection angle. I am getting the same amount of cover available from this engine block by being off of it, but I'm not in that deflection angle. I'm in the safe side of it. So what I want to do here is I want to try to align myself as much as possible along the wheel hub, along the axle line. The engine block is the only true piece of cover, but I have to worry about underneath of the vehicle as well. I'm worrying about any of the skipped rounds or any of the secondary fragmentation that can come up from underneath the vehicle. So once I get in line with the axle as much as possible, I can engage my threats over there by, I can poke up over top of the hood, but I don't call it turkey peeking almost. Remember that if I poke my head up over top of this hood, not only can I see more, but more can see me. So the game of angles works both ways. If you do want to come up and over, one of the things you don't want to do is try to avoid a shoot with your gun straight up and down. You actually want to rotate it and can it to either side. Your gun has a sight and barrel difference. It's about a 2.5, 2.6 inches, depending on the optic and sight that you're using, that I have to take into reference. So this, I can see the threat, but my barrel sees the car. If I roll it over onto my side, I can engage and nothing hits the vehicle. So from here, I can take these shots, but remember, the more I can see, the more that can see me. So what I can do, I can start using some of the alternate firing position techniques, and I can shoot from underneath of the vehicle. I can also use the bumper line, and I can start working my way out to in, outside to inside from the bumper line. So I'm basically down here like this, and I start to work my way out, trying to stay low and use that engine line and engage. That's shooting from the front of the vehicle. Now let's go to the back and shoot from there. All right guys, so now we're at the back of the vehicle. Now the back of the vehicle has some different considerations that we want to discuss. I still want to try to maintain as much as the axle line, as much of the axle line or in the wheel hub as possible. Yet again, I'm still worried about the secondary fragmentation of coming and skip rounds coming underneath the vehicle. Also, trunks. If you've never done a vehicle medium shoot, meaning you shoot rounds at a vehicle to see what the rounds do and what happens to the vehicle, bullets can burn straight through the trunk. It's not going to burn straight through the engine because it's the engine block, it's a lot of metal. So I want to avoid as much as the trunk line as possible. I want to try to stay on the axle line. There's more metal here than there is here to stop the bullets in layman's terms. Not getting into the weeds of how to bail out of the vehicle or anything like that. If you want to learn more of that, then come to a class. But I find myself at the back side of a vehicle, my threat is on that side, and now I want to play some accurate shots or some press of fire. Either want to kill them or I want to keep their heads down so we can get away from this vehicle. If I'm shooting like this, meaning I'm a right-handed shooter, the gun is in my right shoulder, and I start to work my way out either from around the bumper or from around the C-pillar, more of my body is exposed because I have to put my body out there in order to get that line of sight. What we can do is we can shoot from our off shoulder. So I can transition shoulders and engage like this, keeping my hands the same on fire controls, or I can switch shoulders, then switch hands and engage using my support hand and my support shoulder. So this is what I'm gonna do because it's gonna lower my profile, it's gonna lower my signature when I punch out around the vehicle. Because I'm shooting like this, I'm also gonna change up my knees. I wanna keep as much as my body behind the center line of this wheel as possible. In doing so, putting my left knee down because I'm shooting from my left shoulder helps me out because I can extend my right leg. Now from here, I can also rotate the gun up and over and engage. Just like we did from the front, and I can also rotate underneath and engage from there as well. So, like I discussed before, the TTPs, your tactics, your techniques, and your procedures, there's a lot of different ones out there, but these are some of the more common ones that we like to see and that we like to push out, just because of the myths of cover, in the sense of I do not want to just run up and set my whole body and my head on top of the piece of cover. If I get some standoff and I use the angles to my favor, I can effectively use this vehicle for cover and concealment, get away from it while still engaging the enemy. Okay guys, now this is just the basics of shooting positions from a vehicle. This is shooting around a vehicle. We didn't discuss shooting from inside of the vehicle. We didn't discuss shooting from a moving vehicle. And we didn't discuss bailing out of a vehicle either to a hard point, to another vehicle, or just flat out getting the hell away from it. If you want to know those items, know those things, then come to us for a course. We'll get in depth in it. If you have a comment, leave it below.